Wait.
Hello, this is Miriam Weaver, otherwise known as Mock from Chicks on the Right.
Hi, this is Daisy. Amy Joe. You can call me whichever. From Chicks on the Right. And you're watching the Break It Down show.
How fun is this? I got the chicks on the right of my show. This will be a good time. I don't imagine we will get too serious. I am having a mini weekend, ladies, because I'm so busy, flipping crazy, stupid busy right now. I have got so much content to produce.
That's
I'm working on
good.
several projects. Yeah, so this is my Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning right now, and we'll be back to work in about an hour doing another show. So that's
my
like,
goodness.
Cheers.
yeah,
Yeah,
cheers.
cheers to you.
Cheers to you. A
Yes.
little bit of a, no, let's see, Bullet Bourbon, not a
We've all
sponsor,
got
but
refreshments. Yes.
mm-mm.
Uh-huh.
I am for sure not a chick on the right. I'm not a dude on the right, but I have right. I have things where I'm on the right. I have things where I'm on the left. And one of the things that's funny is I get in trouble on both sides, mostly from the left. I vote my conscience, and for right now, my vote for president will be me. I trust me more than I trust who I see out there. Now, I'll give everybody a chance, and I'll sort everybody out. I absolutely won't vote for Joe Biden. I absolutely won't vote for Donald Trump. They've had their chance, and they've let me down. But I don't know. I'm in the middle, and I don't like what I see in general. I don't trust most of what I see, and some of what I see is people saying evil shit about each other's wives. What is going on? Why do we do this? Why are we so divisive? And why is it like this?
I think the media has put us in this position. I think they've sort of, they've taken it wrong. A lot of people believe the propaganda that is spewed in the media, and then we get all fueled up and charged up, and we start, screaming at one another. But, I live in a small town in Texas, and if I go anywhere in my small town, everybody is, different. We all look different. We're all from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And you know what? We all get along. We all seem to really like one another. And so all the bullshit that the media will spew about us not liking one another and not being, one big, I guess I don't want to say one big happy country, because there are people that I absolutely disagree with. But I mean, for the most part, in regular life, where real people live and not where Washington people and where, these elites live, we usually get along pretty well. At least in my day-to-day life, we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to write yourself in?
Am I going to what?
Are you gonna write yourself in?
Yeah. I will, and I have a platform. I have all my policy positions pretty much figured out. And look, I could, look, I'm not really going to be president. I'm not really officially running or anything, but I can't write Joe Biden's name in. I can't take these people seriously. There was cocaine in the White House and nobody knows whose it is.
Right?
Don't we know?
Do we know? We kind of know. Don't you
know?
Look, you know who it is.
I'm glad to say I don't know who it is. You guys will have to tell me. You professional fucking federal police officers will have to tell me who it is. But don't tell me you're like, I don't know. I have no idea who leaked the brief out on the abortion case. I have no idea who's printed it out. I just have no idea. Whoever could it be? Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I don't like being lied to. I don't like being played for a fool. So I'll tell you this. I'll tell you, if I was president, I'm working 16-hour days. I work 10-day weeks. I take half a day off, and then I'll be right back to work. I mean, I can tell you what I'll do. I'm not going to promise you shit. I will tell you this. I'll tear up an executive order or 10 every day. I'll tell Congress in advance which 10 it'll be, but they had better start writing laws, because it's not my job to do that. Yeah,
and what about,
there you go.
And what about a lot of the institutions that are costing us a whole lot of money that aren't really doing anything? What is your stance on that? Because man, we are wasting a lot of money. It's like, we always talk about how the budget or the lack thereof in Washington is a lot like a household budget. And these people could not manage my household budget, which is not that big, let alone what they're managing right now. So I look at candidates and I think a lot of them just go at the status quo and they get in and they just do the same thing that people have always done. And they have the same. I mean, I feel like it's time to start smashing some of these departments, getting rid of them. They're useless. People are, we don't need all these people working for the federal government. It's not what our founders intended. So
Yeah.
I hope that somebody gets in there and does a spend analysis, or at least hire somebody to do a spend analysis,
Oh,
and
man.
then start cutting some of the fat, because economically we're in a lot of trouble.
Well,
I would,
at least a
yeah.
couple of the candidates are saying they're going to do exactly that. Vivek is one of them. DeSantis is one of them. They've been very, very adamant that that's one of the things that they would do immediately, is just cut some of the agencies completely out,
Yep.
or rebuild them from the ground up. Like some of the, the FBI, CIA, these are agencies that have a lot of corruption clearly and need some revamping.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Some of these things are really shouldn't be federally driven. Like for education, I don't know that you can run a federal education program. And maybe you need to do less. Maybe you need to do more, but I would definitely want to look at it. Like if I was president, I would say, I need to understand what you guys are doing and why are you, and I'd pick a county and I'd bring the county people up from different states and be like, let's all sit in the room together and tell me how you guys all communicate. And do you need this person up top? Because what I've learned from like my time in combat was the ground truth guy is looking around like, I can't make a connection to what you think you're doing and to what's happening on the ground. And so and I called it the spaceship and the reality, and the spaceship never knew what reality was, but the spaceship chewed up a lot of the assets,
Right.
and the spaceship would be like, we're so happy with everything going on down on the ground. And you're like, what are you talking about? You don't even know what's going on down here,
Yeah.
And they
you were
would
probably
beam
like,
down and
"Hell,
they'd walk
yeah."
around and be like, everything is neat down here. So I can definitely see a need for that where we do look. I don't know what the problem is, but let's examine this thing. Are we getting out of this what we think we're getting out of it?
Well, there's way too much bureaucracy and administrative positions in so many different facets of government. I mean, one of the things I appreciated about Betsy DeVos when she was Secretary of Education is that she also didn't think that the Department of Education was particularly necessary. So, it would have been nice for them to make some movement, some headway on that while Trump was in office, while she was in office. But be that as it may, I can assure you that who's in charge right now has no plans on going anywhere.
No.
And if anything, wants to beef up the Department of Education. And over the last, I wrote about this back in like 2009 on our website about how administrators and the number of administrators had increased so much over the past several decades at the detriment of student achievement and student progress.
Right.
And so we're spending more and more and more and more money per student and getting less out of their education. So the answer is clear. Like the imbalance is clear. We need less admin because all they're focused on is like critical race
DEI.
theory and DEI. Yeah, I mean all this
the
gender
DEI
nonsense,
bull crap.
all the gender nonsense and all of that. I mean, they're the ones that are just fat that needs to be trimmed.
Yeah, but they keep hiring them. That's the thing. They keep hiring them, and the problem is we are paying them, and that's what really bothers me is that we're broke, and yet we're having to pay all these useless people. I'm sorry, maybe not useless people, but people in useless jobs. That's what we're doing. And so we're just continuing to,
I like that cover.
Right. Was that nice? Was that good? Because they are, a lot of these jobs are completely and totally useless. And if we were looking at a private company, like just a regular company, we would be like, oh my God, there's so much fat we've got to cut here. And we would do that if we were the CEO. But these CEOs of America have not done nearly enough cutting.
Except Elon.
Fat. Well, yeah, he did it of a regular. I'm talking about of the country, the CEOs of the country, with the president, basically. The presidents, from at least since I've been alive. I mean, some of them I've really liked, but they've not gotten to the point where, they've taken a look at what did our founders really want for this country? Well, they definitely didn't want all this bureaucracy. They didn't want all of this crap, this overhead crap. And then if they looked at education, they'd be like, what are you people doing? This is not what we wanted. This isn't any of this. Yeah.
Jordan Peterson the other day had a guy named Zach Lawn on his show, LAHN. I think I've got these names right. And that guy looked at school and said, how do I rethink school? And spent a lot of time and a lot of years examining, how to run a school well. And for less than $5,000 a year in cost, he's really changing the model and has a lot of student peer-to-peer leadership involved. So the kids aren't just in a book being lectured. And we all know the lecture method isn't the best way to teach. There's a place for the lecture method, but you're doing a lot of student driven leading, and so there's this really rich learning environment. And it sounds hocusy pocusy, but that's only because we know this, very regimented way we've always taught kids. And we
Right.
can look at new ways to do this. And why not let the market innovate and teach us the best ways to do it? And there is so much of this. The Khan Academy. I've now on my phone, I've got Duolingo. I've been making my way through French. And look, am I speaking French great? I don't know, not really, but I've learned a lot more and I've been inspired to do it a lot more than I have. I'm 53. I took French in high school. And now, like I've spent the last 6 months getting better at it because it's been gamified and it is fun, right? So there's progress we could make. And here's the thing I know about our current system is, and I did a show with someone from my hometown, Benicia. They said, "Hey Pete, would you let a bunch of kids come on and talk about going back to school? They'll wear masks, they'll do everything. They just want to go back to school." Right? It's California where I live, and I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." Because what I know for sure is that everybody but the kids have a voice in this process. So we had kids from seniors, and there's gaps, but there's kids all the way from graduating seniors that are about to go all the way down to kindergartners. And I gave them a voice in the process because for sure, the school council wasn't going to let them talk.
Mhm.
The union for sure wasn't going to let them talk.
Yeah.
And so I did. And there was a little bit of backlash because these kids had the courage to stand up, and they didn't say anything crazy. They said, "I'd like to go to school. I promise I'll be good. I just want to see my friends. I
Oh
just
my
want to go learn things." Right. And it was adorable.
And there was
All this
backlash.
stuff.
You had backlash for that?
Yeah, because because they stepped out of line. That's all it was. Just, and these are kids, because anytime anybody says anything, there's going to be
Right.
kids that smash them, right? And look, we use the word bullying for any time any kid resists anything. All kids are bullies. You give a kid half a second, they're going to smash someone else. But the fact that we had to do that, I know that kids, there should be seniors on any kind of school board thing. They should be involved in that process. It's their damn education. They should be there as part of the learning process. And so we could be better at that. We could have. I love when we talk about having do we have all the stakeholders here? Like, are there any students in the room? And I learned this from combat. Like, hey, we have all the stakeholders here for this meeting, and I raised my hand. Where are the Afghans? Well, those guys can't be in here. Like, well, but we're talking about their government, like, well, never mind. And so the same principles apply, right? Like, if we're going to have the Department of Transportation talking about things, where are the guys that drive the fucking trains? Are they here? No.
Yeah.
Well,
Are you suggesting that Mayor Pete is not qualified for his position? How dare you?
How dare you?
Look, I have a funny infographic. I'll pull it up about Mayor Pete. And because look, I'm drinking bourbon on the air here, right? I have done a lot of things, but I'm as qualified as that dude is. Should I be Secretary of Transportation? Probably not.
Yeah.
Well, you're
Probably
not. I don't know if you're gay or not. I'm assuming that you're not, and you did
gay.
not fit the diversity hire requirement.
I know.
That's
it's
right.
unfortunate. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right. Well, we're both from Indiana, so we know firsthand. I mean, Miriam mock more than me because she lived up in that area, but he, South Bend, they're like, we don't want to claim him.
I know.
He didn't know how to run a city, let alone. So go ahead and give him what the hell? They gave him transportation. Like what? What is
It
this?
was like all that was left. It's like he drew a short straw or something for like what cabinet position
just want to be in there.
He could maybe do.
Yeah.
Put me on the field, coach. I really want to play. Yeah, this is Pete, and he's doing a terrible job. Terrible.
And if you say that out loud, and look, forget about the fact that it's Pete, but if you say that about anybody, you say, "Did they do a good job?" You're like, "Oh, of course." My for a while before we got redistricted, my rep was Katie Porter. And I said, there's a thing, look, whatever, right? Like it's California and my district is very purple. So whatever, right? I don't mind that. But I had sent different notes to Katie Porter at different times, one time on a veteran issue, one time on a different thing. I never got a single response. And
not even a form letter? Like not
nothing,
even
nothing.
Wow.
Zero, a null response. And so I said, I can't vote for somebody that can't respond. And I was responding to somebody else on Facebook, a friend who's very liberal. And they're like, Katie Porter's a champion. And I'm like, not really. Like, cause she can't do her job. Like, you don't understand she's busy. Like, well, she's too busy to talk to her constituents.
Oh my God.
Which is her actual job.
That's her actual job.
Exactly.
Right?
She's supposed to be doing just that. Like you talk about involvement. You talk about involvement in schools. Like I had like I said, I live in a small town in Texas, but one of the things they did right at the school, which I think more schools should do, is they hired a new principal when they were, the principal left. They hired this new principal. We all come in, and like people who volunteer, they said, I want to be a part of the hiring process. Well, they actually invited students to be part of that process. So to your point, it was really an effective way to hire this new principal, because the students got to ask questions, parents got to, because I was one of the parents, and parents got to ask questions, staff, faculty, they got to ask questions. So it was like a 4-hour process in an afternoon, but it was super effective. And I thought, this is sort of a baseline, a nice little way of just the way that we should be doing a lot of other things, is that more people should be involved in decision making. Now, you would think that would be voting, and people get out and they'd be informed and they would vote. But the problem is, it goes back to the propaganda stuff that we were talking about, where people are just freaking dumb in this country. So many dumb people, and they believe so much stupidity. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. I would, if Pete was president, I would also involve the local populace, whatever. And by all of, your presidents, they're all local. And I would invite, for like presidential ride-alongs, people every day. I would have people with me, and I just, look, I'm the president, so you're cleared. You come do whatever it is, 100% transparency. Let's go. You ride with me. And
I love the idea of a ride-along. That's so clever.
Yeah, every district gets represented to my ability to maintain that, right? And so it wouldn't be about what we were talking about. Look, now that I would reserve the right to say, hey, you cannot come in here on this. Why don't you go sit with the vice president, or I'll put you with somebody else? But because some things you do have to protect, but as much as possible, and I mean like 99%. The exception would be like, hey, I cannot let you in this room. Chief of staff, you're going to go with them. They're going to do something else. Go check out the laundry room or whatever it is. But yeah, you would do this, right? And so if I'm working 16-hour days, 2 in the morning, 2 in the night, doom, 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 all day long, and we would just, or wherever I go, Camp David, you're coming with me to Camp David, whatever it is, and just let people see what you're doing, and just absolutely have for reals transparency. And when I fuck up, I stand up and I go, you know what, I fucked up. The Afghanistan pullout, that's on me. I don't care if it could have gone either way. I made the call. It's my job. It went bad. And look, the Secretary of Defense has just said that he doesn't know how many Americans are there and he can't protect them. That's my guy. I put him there. It's on me. I am the boss. Mm-hmm. But you don't ever see that, because there's no courage there. It's all about, protecting the party. And it's never about the thing. It's never about the kids. It's never about responsibility. And we need someone that can stand up. And like, I don't know who that guy is. It could be Robert Kennedy, but I don't know who that guy is right now. It's certainly not Donald Trump. It's certainly not Joe Biden. When you say you don't know who Robert Kennedy is, what does that mean? I don't understand what that means. It could be Robert Kennedy, that he would have the guts to stand up. He for sure knows how to reach across the aisle and get things done. Yeah, because he's done that with Bono on Africa. He's gotten amazing things done with Republicans, and I'm more interested in someone who can work both sides. I don't know that he's electable, but
he's definitely talking to. I mean, he'll talk to anybody, which I appreciate about him. And he's attracted a lot of Republicans too by doing that. I think not just because of the issues that he talks about, but like vaccines and whatnot. But he also just has he just is like, screw it. I'm going to go I'll talk to everybody and anybody. The problem when you say he's not electable, I think the reason he wouldn't be electable is because the DNC would hold him down, which is, these are the people who always are screaming to us about democracy. It's like, but yeah, they don't want this guy to exist right now, which is crazy because he's a freaking Kennedy. Yeah. You think they would be like going gaga over this guy just because of the whole Kennedy, thing, because of the legacy.
Yeah. I am really critical of the Democrats, because their last 2 candidates, they cheated to make sure Hillary Clinton got the nomination. And I don't know what they did, if they cheated, but they basically canceled everything and just said Joe was their candidate in effect. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, what are we really doing here? What are we really doing? Like, if you guys are talking about democracy, who picked Joe Biden? I get it. There was a pandemic, but let's be honest, Mayor Pete had a chance. He was still in the game, and all of a sudden he wasn't. He just disappeared, so. Yeah.
You really would you like Mayor Pete to actually be president?
No, but I would like to see the process play out. I'd like to see them actually do it. I'd like to see actual debates. I would actually like not that debates fucking matter at all. That's all. All magic.
It does matter. I think it totally matters. I think the debates are an important part of the civic process. We've been talking about that a lot on our show about how Trump better freaking show up. He better show up to the debates. I know she keeps telling me he's not gonna, but I think
he's already said he's not going to show up to Tucker's thing on Friday. Tucker's having the presidential forum, and Trump won't go.
I mean, it's irritating. Like, he's not better than everybody else. He shouldn't think he's better than everybody else. It doesn't matter if he's polling high or whatever. He needs to show up and be part of the process so everybody can see what he believes right now. What are his issues, his policy stances right now? And he owes that to the American people, I think. I mean, I just think it's part of, you want to be president, you better be willing to do all the things and jump through all the hoops, because it's basically like you were in HR, Miriam. I mean, it's an interview. It's an interview process. We are interviewing somebody to be CEO of our country. If you're not willing to jump through the hoops, well, then you shouldn't be in this job. You got to do all the things.
But so many of his supporters are just like, I don't care. He is owed. He is entitled to the second term because it was taken from him unfairly, and so he doesn't need to do debates. I mean, I've been fighting with people about this on Twitter today, and they're still saying he's so far ahead that he doesn't have to do it. Well, I mean, that is a knock against him, I think.
That should be a reason for him to. That should be a reason for him to want to do it, is because he's so far ahead. He should be waltzing in there, pounding his chest, and being like, "I'm a badass. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to debate everybody because I've got however many percentages on that poll." So I don't know why everybody should be willing to do that. That's one thing I do give RFK props for, is I think he's willing to do it. I just don't think the DNC. It's kind of fixed, man. They just want, they want who they want, and they're not going to let anybody else have that seat, which is unfortunate because, this is America.
Yeah. And back to their shenanigans, the DNC side, Michael Bloomberg floats in with a check, and all of a sudden he's a relevant candidate for 5 minutes. But Tulsi Gabbard, who destroys the, Kamala Harris's campaign in one comment, comment, destroyed, and they erased her as fast as they could. And she's someone I would vote for. I could look. She and I don't agree on much, but I agree with her character, and I think that she actually loves America, and I think that she would do her damnedest in doing a good job, not a political job. And so I could wrap my head around voting for her. And so, like when you submarine her by just ignoring her existence, I can't take that party seriously. I struggle with the Republicans for different reasons, but how do I take a DNC that their best guy is Joe Biden? That's your best?
Yeah, right. I know it's kind of staggering, isn't it? And it makes a lot of people on our side of the aisle, we're kind of like, that's the best you got. And if
people are saying the same thing about our guy,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But I mean, it's like at this point, everything is in the crapper. If we can't beat the incumbent, you know what I mean? It's like, look around, man. Our country is in shambles.
Right.
It's just, just economically, and they try to act like, oh, we've created all these jobs and like everybody's working. You just pay no attention to your 401ks. They're actually really great. They're really, really great. Really?
Yeah. There's no inflation. That was transitory. That was
hell. Yeah. Don't be different reality. Yeah.
I live in California, and I love California, and I don't mind like all this stuff. Like, it's funny when you leave California becomes the South to everybody else. And when you're in California, the South is somewhere out there, and we don't like it. It's funny how we trade spots, but our governor cannot shut up about other people's states.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, look, focus. We have $5 gas. We have a zombie lake in our Central Valley that we're like, what are we going to do? It's like, polluting everything. We have a lake that's supposed to be in our Eastern Sierra that's not there. And in there's like this $1 billion temporary but permanent sprinkler set to knock down the terrible toxic dust. We have all these problems that we have to deal with here in a very complex state that's becoming less and less politically diverse. So we have our own problems. We have this outdated electrical system that we're going to ask more and more of over the next 10 years. So can we just handle our own system and let South Dakota worry about its own stuff? And we just worry about if we want to lead the way, we have enough to worry about, to include our homeless problem,
Don't you think that he's doing that though, because they're going to figure out a way to make him the guy?
Yeah. I mean, that's obvious. Right. And again, like, if you're asking me, and there's plenty of people here that love him because of the party, and that's fine. I don't blame them for that because he's their guy.
I blame them.
Yeah,
I don't
I
blame
totally
him for
do.
the party supporting him and doing what the party expects of him, right? Like he's been groomed for this. That's his job. That's his path and all that. I don't blame him for that. But I do look around and go, hey, there's a lot of problems here. Oakland is completely feral. It is not
Yeah,
a place where you
it's
could want to
terrible.
move to. Right. It
Right.
is.
I have kids that live right outside of San Francisco, and they lived in San Francisco a couple years ago. Our boy and his wife, and
Yeah.
They just moved back to California, and they were in San Jose, and they had to move out because they were just like, we got to go. Because there's not, you think that you find like a safe place to live there that's affordable or whatever. Well, I guess for Californians, what's affordable? Because
Mhm.
man, I'm sorry, I could not live there just because it's so freaking expensive.
It is
But
crazy.
I mean, just visiting there, I was like, I could have gone to Europe for as much as I paid for this trip. But so,
Legitimately. Yeah.
but same thing. It's like you almost have to like figure out where's the best place to live because this area sucks. There's homeless everywhere you go. And
Yeah.
he isn't taking care of his own state. And so I think he's deflecting because it's easier to deflect and be like, pivot, pivot, pivot. If you like are trying to show what everybody else like, well, let's pick on Abbott today. Let's pick on DeSantis today. Let's pick on, who we picking on. And I think today he actually was picking on Abbott the last I checked,
Yeah.
but he's always picking on somebody else. And it's like, dude, you need to clean up your own house before you start bitching about other people. And he
I
just
wrote
does.
about this. I'm in this group that I'm in with Miriam, and I wrote this the other day. Like in California, we have several natural ocean ports that allow us to be the beginning of the land bridge for the nation, and so we make a lot of money off of that, primarily and secondarily and tertiary. Like it's so much money. We feed the nation with all of our food. It is amazing all the advantage. We have 14 major sport teams here. We have the cultural hub with our entertainment, and we cannot pay our bills. We have enormous taxes. Florida, Texas, they have different tax structures, but they don't pay personal income tax. Every time Florida needs something, you guys are like, hey, tourists, you want to come here and enjoy yourself? We have an enormous tourism industry, but we pay huge taxes here. I'm fine to pay. We have a lot of things to pay for. That's fine. But how are we broke?
It's a great question. And when we visited the last time, it's during spring break. I just remember thinking, what a beautiful state. California really is. So, I mean, I can diss the places like San Francisco and the downtown areas and stuff like that. But when you get outside of those cities and you look at California as a whole, it is a gorgeous state full of resources. I mean, it's beautiful. We just saw some of the farms and the ranches out there because that's what I'm a ranch girl through and through. And so I'm just like, it is. I know why our son likes it. I know why he likes it. He likes it because of that. He likes it because they can go pick up and go to Tahoe. They can do all the cool things, right? It's like, it is such a great, if you're an adventurer, California is a great place to be.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but and so I get it. And the weather doesn't suck. But the thing is that he's just ruining it. It makes me mad because I see somebody like him who's not paying attention to that, to the state and the fact that it is so beautiful, and he's pissing all over it. And that is not okay. It's just not okay. Especially if that is your job and you're in charge of making sure that people are taken care of in that state and that the state stays, at the level that it was 20, 30 years ago, because it's not at that level anymore. And he's part and parcel to that.
And we want to lead. He's claiming that we're leading the way. And it's like, hey, then we should start like really leading, get serious about this.
Right.
Like we want to lead the way on how energy is done. We have active oil wells. All you have to do is go off I-5 a little bit to the west, and there's like pumps, and you can see an active energy business. So let's talk about that. And it's cool that we have that. Let's show how you take the energy resources we have. I like to call oil organic energy because that's what it is. And let's go, look, this is how you do this. This is how you do this. And this is how you do this all humanely. Look, I'd love to do all that. I want us to be the ones that do it. But we can't. We hate ourselves. And so we cut ourselves. We're like, we're going to go crazy about this. And we're like a teenager. We cannot get our heads wrapped around how we're going to do this.
Yeah, we'd rather get oil and gas from like a whole other country that hates us,
Yeah, and are evil to their own people.
Yeah. Yeah, and that hate women and that really do hate gay people and are all the things that Democrats say that Republicans are. And it's like, okay. But the place that you get your gas from, they're throwing gay people off of tops of buildings.
And they still have legal stoning of people.
Right. It's insanity.
Well, but I'll tell you, Gavin, I mean, your governor is a smooth talking
Yeah.
spinner, and he will, if somehow he becomes the person that is the nominee for the Democrats instead of Biden, instead of Kamala, how that happens, I have no idea how they're going to finagle it. I do think they will finagle it, but I don't think there's a single Republican that can beat him. And I say that as someone who would like a Republican to beat him. I just think there are so many dumb people, and we've talked about this on our show.
Yeah.
There are so many dumb people who are going to look at him and think he's pretty for reasons I cannot fathom.
Yes, suburban women.
Yeah, they're going to look at him and think
They're
he
gonna love
sounds
him.
good and he talks smooth and he looks good and he's young and he's charismatic, and they're going to be like, I'm going to vote for him because he seems awesome.
He's so cute. He'd be a great boyfriend. Because this is the thing. All those chicks that have like all the crap around their Facebook profiles. It's like, I got vaccinated. I did this. I'm so much better than you. I'm better than you. Those are the chicks who are going to look at a Gavin Newsom and be like, oh, he's so charming. He's dreamy. Like, he is not charming. He is the guy that you just want to run away from. If he ever asks you out, you go, no, goodbye, no. And you are gross. Snake. Right. But there are women who are these suburban women and whatever. And it's the women that are even in our age group that are out there. And they're just, those are the ones who, whoever the candidate is has to, I think they're the ones to be wooed this time. Them and us, I say us. I mean, no one's gonna woo me, but us and young people. Young people are a huge demographic too, you know. And I've got millennials that are, you know, they're not under my roof anymore, but we've got kids that are millennials, and they tell me, they'll say stuff like, "We really like Vivek because he's young, You know, they like the young people. It's like, and I don't even and. I know that like some of the young people that I know, they kind of lean even a little bit left, and they still are kind of like, they see what's going on in the country and they're like, this is crazy. And then they see somebody like a Vivek, and I use him as an example because he is so young and he's innovative and he's from the private sector, and I think that excites people, young people, because they're sick of seeing old people, man. They're sick of the 80-year-olds running for president. And I kind of don't blame them.
Oh, I don't blame him at all. You know, the one thing I will say about, and apparently somewhere, and not anywhere close, but Gavin Newsom and I think we're cousins a couple times in a couple different ways.
Get out!
My God!
Look, so
that
just
means
for funsies,
that means you're related to Nancy Pelosi too, and I don't know if we can talk.
Yeah, super distant, I think, right? And even then, I don't know that that's real, but that's like the family legend, and there is a line. But look, everybody's cousins,
right?
So. The thing I want to say about him is when he was attainable, right? When he was still like a coming up California guy, he would do podcasts. So we're talking like 10 years ago. And when he is left to himself and he's able to talk openly, he is a very likable guy. He's personable, you know, but we don't ever get but when you graduate up, you don't ever get to see that person anymore. That person becomes cloistered, he gets machined. And so they're not able to, and this is one of the things I hope with like our world, that where we get to talk and have people on, you know, like you can go on to Bill Maher, and Bill Maher's widely respected, Joe Rogan, and you can have these conversations where you can't hide and you're just being yourself. If he does that, I think to the good and to the bad, depending on how you look at it, and he really can be himself. Now, will he be able to build consensus? I don't think so, because as handsome as he presents and as put together as he is, he also, like a lot of people, he is unlikable for a lot of people, just his appearance. Donald Trump can hold the cutest little baby and go like this, and people will just hate it. Like he has like this switch for some people, no matter, he could say nothing. It could be the perfect picture moment. And other people, they hold the same baby, same everything, and they're like, oh, you know, and they just love it, right? And he doesn't have that. And so there's something about my cousin's makeup where when you see him, you're just like, I don't trust that. And maybe it's the slick hair. Who knows what it is?
I totally agree with you. I think, and I disagree with Mock, where I think that he's unbeatable. I think that he will woo women, but I think that there are a lot of dudes that will hate him. It's like he'll have a whole other he'll just have people who just actively despise him because he is all the things that you say. He's very elitist. Yeah, we've seen it. He's so elitist, and I know at least where I'm come from, I can't stand that. I hate it. If I even smell the least bit of elitism in somebody, I'm like, you don't need to be running this
Yeah.
country, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like you got to know what's going on in the world, and I don't think he knows what's going on in the world. So I think that if they do put him in that position, he's going to be, people will start really going after his record. He won't be able to hide from it. So there's that. And then also he's just a jerk. He's just a slicked back used car salesman looking. I don't think I personally don't think he's likable, but I think to Mock's point, she is right. And I do agree that there's a lot of women, and I say women, who are going to be like, he's so great. He's so
Yeah.
charming.
Can I show you? Can I just remind everybody of this picture really fast? Can I just remind everybody of this?
Really Guilfoyle and him. Remember when they were married for like 5 minutes, and now she's married to a Trump? Like, how do you even do that?
That's right.
How does that even work?
I mean, enough said.
Was it on a bearskin rug? Please tell me it wasn't. I can't remember.
No, it's on like it's on some like super ritzy looking
rug,
mauve pattern.
Yeah, probably somewhere in a mansion somewhere. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All the joking about the whole thing is that I'm interested in, though, like Gavin Newsom aside, right? Like, he did get voted for by a lot of people here in California, and maybe that translates into enough votes that he does win, and that's certainly a possibility. I don't think he or DeSantis or any of these folks have enough consensus to get much done, which is sort of our design, right? Like we have this running gunfight where we just can't get along. And that's really what I'm interested in, is who can build consensus. Because as much as you can be chicks on the right, and we discussed this before, there's no chicks on the left, like who do what you do and it would come on my show, right? It's very like, they don't do that. They don't cross-pollinate. So how do we all get along enough to actually make these changes, to actually do the things that allow us to go forward? Is that even possible? Do we want that?
I think we want it. I think gosh, it's like, it sounds like a utopia to have you even describe that. But like Daisy said earlier, that is actually what real life is like. When you just go out into the world and you interact with people, chances are you get along, and you probably don't know their politics, and you meet up at a neighborhood party or whatever, and you just have a normal conversation. So I think, to her point, it is so much of the divisiveness is set by the media. They want the hate because that's what it keeps. It's just gasoline on a fire over and over again, and it gets them clicks and it makes them money, and that's how the whole world goes round. And so I don't know that there's any way to put that genie back in the bottle. I really don't.
Yeah, maybe I think we should burn all social media, and then that would help. Just set it all on fire. We did that, maybe, because I think, like she said, I don't know if there's any putting the toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak, because we're at the point now where everything is out there, everything is shared, everything is like 24/7 constant news coverage. It's like there's no we never have a lack of things to talk about on our show every day. We go like every single day, it's like an hour and a half, and we could probably go longer. That's how much stuff goes on. There's always something going on. It's always, and I don't remember that in the 80s. Do you?
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
It wasn't this crazy.
Well, because we only had the evening news. We didn't have 24-hour news.
And so it's all changed. The landscape of just the way that we communicate. I have a young daughter who is now, kind of coming of age, is sort of like that whole, okay, well, do I let her use social media? I can't let her use it until she's, probably 17, 18 years old, because it's such a cesspool of suck. And it's the 13th portal to hell to be on any sort of social media. And I think that social media is a big part of it. And the fact that has become where a lot of people get their news, and they hate each other. And a lot of, you say we're willing to come on, and we go on a lot of shows and do a lot of stuff, and we'll talk to a lot of different people, with the exception of the women on The View. I won't go there, but to be fair,
we've not been invited. So let's just make that clear.
I don't think they would ever invite us. But the thing is like, I just think that people are hungry for that. People are hungry for intimacy with other people. People are hungry for, like knowing about other people. It's just that what gets in the way is stuff like social media, and just the way that our country and the way that our world works now from a communication standpoint. Everybody's so segmented and segregated and detached from one another. And you start wondering, like, about humanity a lot of the time because you're like, do people, but then, you know, again, I go back to, I get out, I go talk to people, you know, and then people are generally good people. They want to help you. If you were in trouble, they would come help, they would hopefully come to your assistance. And I would do the same for other people. And I would like to think that we still have the same heart we did back in the 80s and 90s, but it's just that we have so many distractions and so many things that are trying to keep us from loving one another. Not to sound like a hippie, but it's true. You know,
I'll also say too that it seems like some of the greater intolerance for others and others' viewpoints comes from the far left.
Yep.
And Eric Erickson, perfect example. I don't know if you saw his tweet, Pete, but he tweeted just a couple hours ago. He said, "I just had a guy at a restaurant ask if I was staying to eat or getting it to go because his wife didn't want to eat there if I was going to be eating there."
Jeez.
So they recognize Eric and they're like, we got to make sure that we're not sharing oxygen in the same building. Right. I mean, I can't imagine a conservative. I would never do that. If I saw Nancy Pelosi in the same restaurant as me, I would probably sneer at her, but I'm not going to leave.
You would take pictures and then we'd use it on our blog. But like to that point too, yesterday, Joy Reid got on her show and said that we're not normal, that right wingers are not normal people. The only normal people are people on the left side. And it's like, well, you're a bigot. That's not okay. I wouldn't we're not abnormal because of this. And I think that there's been this, listen, we get it because there's a stigma attached to being a conservative. When I say stigma, like there are a lot of people who are, at least I think now it's a little bit different, but we had probably a 3 or 4 year span where college students would write us and be like, I'm conservative, but I can't say I'm conservative on a college campus because I will be, you know, I'll be chastised. My grades will be lower because all of the, 98% of professors are liberal. And so sometimes it can be hard for conservatives in this country because they, you know, they're looked at in a certain way and they don't feel like they can stand up and say, I'm a conservative. It's so much easier and you can just be lazy if you're a liberal. It's easier, you know, and that sucks. You should be able to be whoever you want to be. And it used to be like I said, in the 80s and 90s that people could sit down with one another. They could talk about things. And it's like, I would have never said about a liberal, you're an abnormal, like you're a subpar human because you're a liberal, and a liberal wouldn't have looked at me and said, you're a subpar human because you're conservative. We just would have, you know, discussed stuff and then disagreed and then moved on. Yeah. You know, big deal.
And it's just not true. Like, you know, like it's just not true. You are allowed to think different things. That's freedom. You know, you're allowed to, even uncomfortable things that you despise, that person's allowed to think that. And and you're telling me you can't eat with somebody? How far back in time are we going here with your beliefs?
I love this comment so much.
Yeah, I mean,
what was the comment?
It said, "You're not normal if you don't have a rubber chicken," and I have to assume that's because I do, in fact, have a rubber chicken.
It's your rubber chicken. That's what it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, so before I had you ladies on, you know, I like to do things that are uncomfortable, and it's not uncomfortable to have you on the show, but I did have to think like, you know, because then the name Chicks on the Right, like, oh man, this might cause me some grief. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to talk to who I want to talk to. Because I have had people who are very left leaning, and I have had people on the right for sure, and way right of you. It doesn't matter because we're all in this spectrum, and you give voice to everybody because everybody's opinion in this country and on this show, they all matter. And so I don't mind doing it. I don't mind having conversations with people who are doing interesting things. And you've built this incredible audience, and you're entertainment. And if someone's going to get mad at entertainment, all they have to do is simply not watch your show. You know, it's not required viewing, you know?
Right.
You would think it would be that simple, but people they feel if they don't like us, man, they got to let us know. Mm-hmm. And they got to talk to us about it as often as they possibly can and tell us how much they hate our content, how they hate watch it. Listen, a click is a click. If you're going to watch it, a view is a view. Welcome.
I totally agree. Yeah. And it goes back to that whole keyboard bravado thing where so many people are so apt to, it's so easy to yell and bitch and moan at somebody when you're on a computer. It's like, seriously. And I remember one time I worked at the radio station. We had our radio show for 8 years. There's a guy that was doing that to us. And I'm like, here's the thing. I'm so sick of you calling us names and acting like, you know, I don't know, just chastising us for all sorts. Why don't we meet in person? Let's meet for coffee. And I did that, and I called him out, and I humanized myself doing that.
Sure.
I was like, let's do that. Let's meet, and then we'll discuss what kind of freaking hang up you have when it comes to us. And he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it because he was too chicken shit. Because he just wanted to be behind a keyboard, spewing a bunch of crap at us. Yeah. And it's like, give me a break. We've been doing this for 15 years. Just
I have a
now we're like, whatever.
Yeah. I have a pretty big problem when people attack the FLOTUS, whoever the FLOTUS is. I don't care. Like, look, you don't have to like Michelle Obama. You don't have to like Melania Trump, but they didn't ask for the job. They don't get paid for the job. And to take all of your hate to say that you have a penis or that you're a porn, knock it off. Like, that's just, stop with that stuff. Yes, sometimes there's some political desires in there. So what? This person has, like, they have to have the Secret Service around them for the rest of their lives. Back off. Go find somebody else to hate.
But don't you think Melania was treated a lot differently than all the other first ladies before her?
I think it's bullshit to treat any first lady poorly. I think that we should all leave those ladies alone as much as possible. Let them live their lives. Now, if they want to continue, now it's different with Secretary Clinton, and I'm saying Secretary Clinton because she had other aspirations and she inserted herself into political life. Right. But Michelle Obama hasn't done that yet, and so she's a first lady, and that's it, right? And if she does something else, then okay. And she's allowed to speak her mind and all that stuff. But yeah, Melania, it's really unfair. And to talk about her appearance when we're supposed to ignore all of these other appearance things, and we're supposed to be for women, to denigrate anybody. And I saw a thing, I didn't even know Ron DeSantis's wife's name until like last week, when all of a sudden they're tearing this lady apart. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, they're calling her the country Karen. Oh the country's Karen. And it's like, seriously? I mean, and honestly, if she were on the left, they'd be putting her up on a pedestal and talking about how she beat cancer and she's, this and that. She's got like an accomplished actual career, besides being Ron DeSantis's wife. So, I mean, this is the thing. And women are the worst. We're the worst to one another. We really are the worst to one another. Yeah.
And why debase yourself like that? Why not just rise above that and just ignore it? Like Donald Trump wouldn't be a candidate if the left just ignored him.
It's true.
Like if they just said, hey, he's not president anymore. We won.
What's your take on the reason that the left is so determined to keep propping Donald Trump up as I mean, they keep ripping on him, obviously, because it's the mainstream media. But don't you think that it's kind of odd that everyone on the left seems to be super excited for a Trump nominee, like for him to be the nominee?
They want it.
To me, it seems obvious that they want him because they know he can be beaten.
Or they think
more easily than the rest of the field. But, there's people that disagree with that.
I don't know. And I just know it's too drama filled for it to be good for the country. And then I'll say this too, and I'm on the record of talking about this. All of this stuff, all this classified stuff, I don't care if it's Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Mike Pence, Secretary Clinton, all of it is bullshit. Because here's what all of this means. Because I was a professional spy. When you can't protect your classified, that means guys like me, my adversaries, see DC as an opportunity. And if Representative Swalwell, if Senator Feinstein have had Chinese people working on them, that means that there are spies in DC that have been successful. It is very hard to find them because that's the whole fucking point of being a spy. You have an operation, and once you have an operation successfully, they will funnel money and resources into that thing. The British had Russian people in their system for decades that they didn't know about. And that means there's one they didn't even find out about. Decades. There's all kinds of history about this stuff. And so when you see this and you see all this infighting and political machinations, that's just an indicator that we are so full of infighting that we're not even concerned about the actual fucking threat that's going on. Yeah, and so I don't care who did it. I care that nobody cares enough to care to go, hey, what's really going on? And let's do some real counterintelligence. There's a case opening against the Chinese like every hour, every 2 hours, because anything they send to us is potentially compromised. And so we're trying to figure out if it is or not constantly, whether it's electrical energy equipment that's coming to us or people that are working here or people that are coming. And I'm not saying like the Chinese, right? But it's legitimate. They're trying to get things from us. They're stealing technology. They're stealing, IP. All these things are happening. And we're talking about all this other stuff. It has nothing to do with anything. There's this threat. They're stealing information. It's not a big surprise. So when we look at all that, we have people who aren't serious in very serious positions, and it's only sustainable for so long before it really starts to hurt us in the long
Well,
run.
they're serious about keeping control and power. That's what they're serious about.
Mm-hmm.
The country and about the people in it, I don't think they're
Yeah.
very serious about. But when it
Right.
comes to having that sort of power, at least the people who are in position now, they're doing that. I mean, listen, people on the right are rightly irritated and terrified, frankly, because of what's
Yeah.
happening, what happened to Donald Trump with the document stuff, because there is you've heard that two-tier justice floating around. It's true. It's a true thing. It's not just two-tier justice. There's
Yeah.
two tiers of how people are generally treated in this country, and the examples
Yeah.
I gave before. I mean, like
And
as conservative women, we've been treated differently than liberal women. That's just the way that it is. Like we were actually really nice 15 years ago, and we're
I don't remember that, but apparently that was true.
Ago. But
Yeah.
it's like you get beat up so much that you're just like, okay, and then you just start getting a really thick skin. But there is a two-tier of everything. I think that
Mhm.
you just know they're going to be treated differently than me because I'm a
Yeah.
conservative, and that's not okay. That's
Yeah.
just not, like, liberals shouldn't be okay with that. I know that they hate conservatives, so they're like, well, neener, you're going to be treated different. But the tape, when you get into a position in a country where they're like the freedom has eroded so much, where one side is being treated differently than the other, eventually the tables may turn, and that may be you. So you got to think about that kind of stuff as a person, as a citizen of a country, not just on one side or the other,
And that road goes both ways, right? I mean, when the Republicans have an advantage, they certainly take it. There's, we can say Chuck Schumer, and you can go back the other direction, and everybody is playing hard, and they play full contact, and you take an advantage. It's funny that Merrick Garland didn't get to be a justice, but now he's the top prosecutor in the nation. It's these things come around and go around, and one tackles the other, and you get up and you dust off, and all of a sudden you get tackled by the other side. Like it is sort of how we are designed to constantly waylay one another so that we can't do too much damage to ourselves.
And there's this I don't know, maybe I'm paranoid, but I have this worry because unlike you, I think I speak for Daisy on this too. We will both vote for Trump if that is our choice.
Mhm.
Yep.
So
Right.
if it's between Biden and Trump,
without question, I'd vote
there's
for
just
him.
no question. So that wouldn't necessarily be my top choice, but I would absolutely vote for him because I know how good things were before COVID hit. I mean, I felt like he was doing everything that I wanted him to do and then some. But I do worry that this time around, because let's say somehow it's him and he wins, I do worry that his entire presidency will be focused on revenge, and that it'll be just one investigation after another. And there's the part of me that feels that I want revenge for him for all the crap. But then there's the other part where I'm just like, I don't want this to be what your presidency is about.
Right.
I want you to actually do good for the country. And so I do worry about that.
Let's hope that if he does win, that's not what he focuses on. And I kind of agree with you there too, where, I mean, there could be, because man, I would be pissed. I would be pissed.
He's got reason to be.
Yeah, I mean, because they literally been pummeling him since day one, like no other president. It's just out of control. I mean, there's just that hatred, that seething hatred. It's like listen, I know that we don't really even have Fox anymore because they're starting to turn, but it's like, we've always said we've got like one network and then they've got like all the others. That's basically how it used to be until like Newsmax and what's the other one? There's OAN. OAN came along.
But even they are almost like a farce, like it's just, they're feeding a market as opposed to trying to give a conservative version of the news. When you watch it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is not good.
Yeah.
Like, why not just read the news? Get rid of the adjectives and just read the fucking news.
Right? That would be great if there were actual journalists still.
And if there are people who read things. People don't read anymore. I mean, we've got a website, and it's like they'll read the titles of stuff and then they just want to comment. This is our generation now, right? They all just, nobody reads. Nobody reads books anymore, do they?
I do.
Yeah.
I know.
People write books. Yeah.
I do too. We've written a book, but it's like, But this is the thing. Nobody reads anymore. Nobody is pensive like that. Everybody just wants to like get their jab in as quickly as possible. And it's, you know, and then they don't really want to research, you know. So
yeah. That's a lot of negative stuff over the last hour. What's good? Let's talk about some good stuff.
Let's do that. Can we?
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Oh, and by the way, let
dogs.
me say this.
Let's talk about dog. I got a dog. I got a dog right there. He's great.
I want to jump in and say this, and then I'm going to mostly shut up and let you ladies have the last 10 minutes or so. I'm about to jump in a van and follow my buddy Scott across the nation. And this is to your all's points. The moment you leave your house and you interact with Americans and you go from California all the way across to Savannah, straight line, basically, I'm going to interact with thousands of people, and they're all going to be amazing. And they're going to be every kind of ethnicity, every kind of political leaning, and they're all going to be incredible people. And we're all going to support veterans. We're going to try to get us to stop wanting to kill ourselves. And it's going to be fan-fucking-tastic. And then I'm going to drive back solo, and I'm going to get to see America. And I get off the main roads, and I talk to people, and it's amazing. And nobody's like, I hate anything. They're just like, oh, man, I'm struggling. I love to ask this problem. What problem keeps you up at night? And if we could solve one thing, what would it be? And it's not stuff that they talk about on fucking TV. Right. It's real people problems. Like, I could just use a break. I could just use this. And so you're so right. Like, the real world, not the news world, not the poison box world, is a totally different world. And people really ought to see how big and beautiful this country is and meet their big, beautiful neighbors. It's so true. All right. I'm going to shut up and let you guys have your last say here.
Oh, my goodness. About what?
About whatever you want. What's your good thing? What is your good thing?
Our good thing?
What's a good thing? I mean, in every show that we do, we try to, the whole goal of the show is not just to give people kind of an update about what's going on in the world, but we also try to bring levity to the whole
fun.
Exactly. And so much, you know, to your point, so much of the news sucks. And so even though we have to talk about it because that's our job, right? Is to talk about, to know about what's going on in the world and to kind of edutain and sort of inform utainment, I guess, is what we're all about. But we do try to inject some positivity, whether that is through showing dog videos at the end of the show or cute animals or whatever. We try to always end on a positive note. And I think that's what brings humans together. That's like, that's our shared humanity, is that at least we can feel good about the fact that everyone normal, like the people who have rubber chickens, everyone normal thinks dogs are cute.
Right. And listen, I think the thing that we're most proud of, I know the thing that we're most proud of, I could totally speak for Miriam when I say this, is the community that we've built. It's not about, you know, the books and the shows and all that kind of stuff. It's legit the people that we've met along the way. And like we're best friends. Miriam and I have been best friends for almost 16 years now. And so we have the greatest job because we get to hang out with each other every day, even though we don't live in the same state. So that is a wonderful thing for both of us personally. And then on top of that, we have all these great people who join in with us. And I love that these are people who love their country. They get together and they've met some of their best friends through our community. So we've not just started like this. We didn't just do it because we were like, hey, let's go. We want to get clicks and it's going to be great. Our original intent was always to make a little bit of a difference and try to have fun doing it. And we just love doing it together. That I think that has kind of caught fire with our community. And then our community in turn, we sometimes were in awe. We're just like, these people have like book clubs and stuff like that they do together. They go on trips together. They pray for one. They do all sorts of wonderful things for and with each other. And it's, and that's the coolest thing about what we've done over the past 14, 15 years is the people that we've allowed.
Sounds like the far right.
It's just the connections, man. I mean, people have made connections with other people. And we've even, you know, like several instances where people have been in economic turmoil in their own lives and we all rally, you know, if somebody's sick, we all rally. I mean, it's like this, it's just that's how you know that people are still good, you know, we're still good. And
if you let them, right? If you let them be, they're good. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I don't want to take any more of your guys' time. It was great to spend my weekend with you. I've got to do another show here in about an hour, but it's just cool to just look, yeah, we got silly. We talked about a bunch of things, but really, ultimately, it is up to us. You know, like when people talk about term limits, and I'm like, vote your guy out. Just vote
Right.
him out. Like we
Yeah.
all, it is up to us. You know, one of my pet peeves is like when you get your jury duty notice, that's a good thing. We get to judge each other instead of having something like this is a civic duty. It's as important
Right.
as voting is, right? Like,
Yeah.
so quit bitching about it. Like it's important. Go do it. It is up to us to run these things. So if you're going to vote, go get involved. Go get involved. Go run for something. Go volunteer for a committee at the county or city level. Go volunteer. Go do stuff. We all have the ability to get involved in our government. You don't have to be president. Matter of fact, you're more powerful at the county level. You can, there's budgets and you can vote and be like, I say no to that, you know, and you can say, our city does not want that money. Let's put it towards this. You can really do those things. So we can all get more involved directly.
Totally agree.
For sure. And
totally agree.
You're speaking our language right now. Because
totally agree with you 150%. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So we all are empowered as long as we just choose to be, and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to run the credits. Hang in there so I can say goodbye to you guys officially. And everybody else, I will see you all in about an hour.
Hey, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours